We are joined now on the phone by Senator Ron Johnson, a Republican from the great state of Wisconsin. Good to have you with us. How are you, sir?
Real good. How about you guys?
Well, pretty good. We wanted to have you on because you have an idea. It's a novel concept. You know, we've heard this saying out there that, you know, if you like your health care, you should be able to keep your health care.
Yeah, where did we hear that?
We've heard that
we
36 times, 36
times.
times from the President of the United States, right out of his own mouth. You actually want to take that from the position of being a broken promise to being an actual law. So tell me what you're filing and what you hope to accomplish.
Well, first of all, in the health care law, they did have what they call a grandfather clause, but it was a phony grandfather clause. It said basically you can keep your health care plan as long as you totally change it. So what we did in our bill is just very simply use that exact same language, but we just took out the requirement to make people change their bill. So the problem is that the implementation is so far down the tracks. I mean, this train has left the station. It's going to be extremely difficult to have that promise honored for all these individuals that have already got the cancellation notices, but we can protect millions of more Americans, particularly on group plans, as those things begin renewing back, you know, in September and October of next year. But the quicker we act, the sooner we act, the more Americans we actually can preserve that promise for. But, you know, again, this law is a disaster. The only way of really honoring that promise is totally repealing the bill. President Obama had to know that what he was saying was utterly false, or he was utterly clueless and so disengaged he had no idea what was in his law or what would be the effect of the Health Care Act.
Either way, not good.
It's neither one is particularly flattering for his presidency.
What is the difference between your proposal and other proposals out there? I mean, Senator Dianne Feinstein apparently has a similar measure.
Sure, well, and that's I think she co-sponsored Mary Landrieu's bill. Mary Landrieu's bill only applies to individual policies. Mine would apply to any insurance policy, group policies, you know, that you get from your employer as well as individuals. And of course, Mary Landrieu, in her bill, she forces insurance companies to keep those plans in place, but she's not understanding the reality of the situation. The insurance companies have already totally, you know, reconfigured their insurance policies. They've run that through all these different state regulatory agencies. They've got all their premiums approved. Again, it's going to be very difficult to reverse that course basically we've got about 45 days to do that. And so it's going to be, you know, so I think my bill recognizes reality. I don't believe that Mary Landrieu's bill does.
Senator Ron Johnson is our guest. And Senator Johnson, you mentioned Mary Landrieu's bill. Now, you and she have something in common. Obviously, you're both senators, but she is up for re-election to the Senate in 2014 from a red state. And you, Senator Johnson, you're up for re-election in 2014 from a blue state. Now, tell me, in terms of Obamacare, how that issue is working for you in an Obama-friendly state versus Mary Landrieu and Kay Hagan and Mark Pryor coming from red states trying to run on Obamacare.
Well, actually, I'll be up for re-election in 2016.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I think, obviously, there are going to be a number of Democrat senators who are going to have a real difficult time in those types of states, but in particular, any senator, any House member that also mimic those exact same words. If you like your health plan, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you'll be able to keep it. Those individuals that actually voted for and supported Obamacare and made that same false promise, I think they should be held accountable by the voters in their states and in their districts. I think it's critical, and at a minimum, what they should be doing is stepping up the plate and start limiting the damage of this health care law. Hopefully, we can convince an awful lot of those individuals to join us in total repeal of the bill, which is the only way we can really salvage this situation.
Well, you know, we actually found an example of somebody who said that. Senator Mark Warner. Virginia said that just the other day, and we suspect that there are a lot of people in Washington, D.C. who are going through right now and scrubbing their websites of any potential reference to the fact that if you like your health care, you can keep it.
Well, I think an awful lot of those phrases and those statements were recorded, either on video or audio on radio. And so I think, you're probably right. There's an awful lot of people searching for those sound bites, and those will and should be used, quite honestly, because this was a massive fraud. It was a massive fraud perpetrated on Americans. And what we are seeing right now is true victims of this fraud. When we have, for example, a couple in Wisconsin, they both have cancer. She has stage 4 lung cancer. He's recovering from prostate cancer. They were getting insurance coverage from the high-risk pool, which is now obsolete because of Obamacare. And now their premiums are going to double, is what they're finding out. And they, by the way, they can't get into healthcare.gov. They're getting these quotes directly from the insurance companies because the website's not working. I mean, think of the position of cancer victims that can't get coverage right now, are going to lose access to the doctors and the treatments that have kept them alive. I mean, the amount of stress, the damage, the harm, the victims that Obamacare is going to be creating here is just going to be incalculable.
Republican Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin is our guest. And Senator Johnson, we've got the failed website, which is still broken and under scrutiny, and it doesn't seem to be an end in sight in that problem. Then, of course, the problem of millions of Americans losing their insurance despite the promise the president made. Now, yesterday, we had a third aspect of Obamacare that's really raising eyebrows. James O'Keefe did an undercover video of these Obamacare navigators. Here's a little clip.
But don't tell him. I always allow mine. Okay.
Yeah, these are these federally paid community organizers who have been tasked with getting people signed up for Obamacare, telling this undercover journalist to lie on their form about whether they smoke, about what kind of income there is, what kind of oversight does the Senate have here, and will there be heads rolling?
Well, we try and conduct oversight, but most of these government programs, the average amount of fraud in any program, whether it's Medicare or Social Security Disability or Medicaid, is somewhere in the 20-25% range. Now, Obamacare is starting up. The federal government can't check or can't verify income qualification for the subsidies, so President Obama is basically just waving that. Oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry. We'll let you work on the honor system here.
Wait, let's drill down. Let's drill down on that for a minute. When you sign up for Obamacare right now, via the navigators or on the website, you say what your income is, and if it's low enough, you get a huge federal subsidy to pay for your health insurance. And there is no verification right now on that income.
Yeah, the government can't verify it, and that's of course one of the problems they're having with the website is attempting to do that, and it's been a disaster. And oh, by the way. So the IRS is going to share your personal income information with about 6 different federal agencies, but they say, oh, hey, don't worry about it. We'll keep it all confidential. We're also hearing, you know, they've never even considered site security in terms of the level of hacking that can go into there and the loss of personal information. So, there's so many different ways to describe the disaster that Obamacare is going to be, which is why Republicans continue to say the best thing to do with Obamacare is repeal it.
Well, okay, and that's where I'm coming to. Is that possible? I mean, is it now possible, given the day after day and the steady drumbeat? As I said earlier this morning, I've looked far and wide. I can't find one positive story anywhere about Obamacare. They are all negative, and you point out several other things that are going to drop in the days ahead. Is there a chance that maybe the worm has turned here, that the change can now take place?
Well, there's certainly a chance. The problem we've always had with trying to get Democrats to support us is that prior to the rollout, the actual implementation, all we were doing was predicting. Now, it's pretty easy to predict exactly what a disaster this was going to be, but Americans hadn't really felt the real harm and the real pain of Obamacare. Now that Americans we are starting to see Democrat senators really run for the hills. They are panicking, and they should panic, because their constituents are losing health care, they're losing access to those doctors. So possibly, if we get a supermajority of Americans putting pressure on Democrat senators, we just might get enough votes to repeal this law. That would be the best course of action.
Democratic senators like Senator Kay Hagan, who's just seen a 17-point lead in the polls evaporate since all of these stories came to light.
Or our own Mark Warner here in Virginia. Right. Still no word from Mark Warner. No. Where is he?
Well, Senator, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck on your project there. We hope it the bill becomes a law.
Well, have a great day, guys. Thanks.